Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Marshaun Olaniyan here, your favorite shift relationship strategist. And this is Love Restored. You are listening to KCCR Brownstone. Welcome back to another episode for this next 30 minutes where we are going to take a deeper dive into self-awareness, or the silent saboteurs of self-awareness. Now, for the past 3 weeks, we have discussed 3 out of the 6, which is self-reflection, self-comparison, as well as negative self-talk. Today, we are talking about the disconnection of our emotions when we are being sabotaged, specifically when our awareness is not raising to the level that it needs to be in order to cultivate beautiful relationships, specifically the relationship with yourself first, and then the relationship with outsiders, meaning your children, your siblings, your spouse, of course, as well as anybody else that comes along in that circle of love and trust that you have honed for yourself. So that, of course, that includes your parents, and it could even include, again, I know that I said friends, but I'm meaning coworkers. That's the word I'm looking for. So it could be your coworkers as well. So let's take a deeper dive into the next, or the fourth silent saboteur, which is, again, the disconnection of your emotions. But before we do that, before we do that, let's talk about Love Restored and where the title actually came from for Love Restored. It came from me having to restore my own love for oneself, which is exactly what I'm trying to help you do if you have started to lose, or you never even figured out if you actually did love yourself. I struggled with understanding who I was, understanding how I was showing up in the world, understanding how I was showing up in my dating relationships, and why they were not going to the next level. And I had to start to love Marshaun. I had to start focusing on the things that I wanted out of life, the way that I wanted to show up, how I wanted to be respected as well as treated, loved on, and how I wanted to accept the love as well as give said love to others. And because I didn't have a strong foundation while I was growing up, that exhibited or displayed, excuse me, in those relationships that didn't go anywhere, the men that I chose. Um, I heard somebody say that you can tell the level of your own self-esteem by your past relationships. I don't think that that's 100% true, because you can grow. However, if you are currently in a relationship, you can absolutely tell the level of your self-esteem based off the way that you allow this person to treat you, the things that you are dealing with, right? The things that you are allowing in your relationship, whether it's disrespect, mistreatment, name calling, anything that looks like negativity. Let's just put it that way. And all of us are going to deal with something, because there are two imperfect people coming together trying to create this perfect relationship, right? And I believe that that's wholeheartedly true, especially the relationship that you're currently in. Now, that definitely played a part in the relationships that I was in. However, because currently I'm not in a relationship, my level of self-esteem, my level of awareness has absolutely gone to the next level because of the things that I'm willing to walk away from. I have a level of security in my life about myself that I don't need the outside approval from anyone, including but not limited to my partner. I have my self-respect, I have my dignity, and I can say yes or no. I can create boundaries. I don't have to just settle for anything that's being thrown my way, because there is a level of respect that Marshaun, me, I have for myself and those that come into my life, my spouse, my partner, but also my friendships. Also, the things that I allow to come into my life and be a part of my life, as well as that gets access to my child. There is a level of, can't nobody just come in here just because, right? Including but not limited to family members. You don't get close access if you are a certain way. And for me, that's a lot of negativity. That's always where 90 something percent of the time you are leaning toward negativity versus positivity. I am all about positivity, and wanting my life to go to the next level and allowing my daughter to witness my life going to the next level versus all of the junk, all of the muck, all of the things that we allow to surround ourselves, including the things that we watch, that we're listening to, the conversations that we're having, again, the people that have access to us. I have paid really close attention to that, right? My self-awareness, which is all about this series, my self-awareness has heightened. So the next person that I date is going to honestly have to come with it because I'm so immune to the crap when it comes. When it rears its ugly head, I'm able to call it and face it straight on instead of kind of running away from it because of the lack of self-esteem or the lack of awareness. And at some period at the time, there was a lack of awareness of what was actually happening and why these things and why the treatment was there. Just because I just didn't understand it. And when you're too nice, people take advantage of that, right? But also on the other extreme is when you're too guarded, nobody can have access to you and you'll eventually run people away. So people either take advantage of you or you'll run them away. And so you need to have a bit of both in order to really create the life that you want. So without further ado, let's talk about the disconnection of our emotions and how it sabotages our self-awareness. So first of all, what is emotional disconnection? It is the lack of awareness or the suppression of feelings. Now, we already talking about self-awareness. So we are trying to raise our level by understanding that our emotions can suppress or have us not understanding where and what our self-awareness actually is. Or you could just be suppressing your feelings, as I just mentioned. Another thing is that this can be emotionally numbing, where you're just not dealing with your emotions at all, or you know that they're there, but then you avoid them. So, say for instance, you know that some things are happening in your life, and instead of you dealing with them face to face or head on, you find other things to actually do. So, it could be the scrolling all day, it could be always having to be with somebody doing some type of activity. It is where you are the things that come up when it's silent, you find ways not to deal with them. And that's what a lot of people do. And because you are numbing or avoiding the emotions that are coming up with the stuff that has happened to you, right? Because it is the past experiences. It is it could be some type of abuse that was there, right? It's definitely some type of trauma that you have experienced. All of those things play a part in how you are showing up emotionally. And a lot of people run away from their emotions thinking that that is the armor that they have on, that armor is going to help them. And for a period of time, let's be real, it does. For a period of time, having on armor does help. However, big picture, long term, that armor is where the vulnerability is behind the armor, right? The vulnerability is behind the armor. Me getting to see some of your weaknesses, the vulnerability is behind the armor. Me getting a chance to really understand who you are is behind the armor because I only see this tough side of you. So after a period of time where you're getting to know someone, this is specifically a romantic relationship that I'm describing. After a period of time of getting to know someone, we have to go deeper. And so, if your relationship is only superficial because of this armor that you have in front of your emotions, then the deeper connection that must happen never forms. And this could be why your relationships are not going to the next level because that armor that has been protecting you for all of this time is still there, and you have yet to allow it to start shed where somebody can actually penetrate through your shield, right? Or your brick wall, as I like to say. Nobody can get through that. And because they can't get through that, that deeper emotional connection will never happen. And that is suffocating any chances of you creating the deeper relationship that you want. So, numbing, avoiding any of the emotions that come up is absolutely harming you in the long run, right? And then, of course, we have the societal and cultural factors that play into this as well. As well as this can also just be your personal coping mechanism, and a lot of that is because, again, as I just mentioned, your experiences. But specifically for this one, I would have to say this is where the trauma has happened to you. And don't get it twisted. All of us has had some type of trauma, whether it's big or it's small. There is some type of trauma that each of us have experienced because we are imperfect, but we're also being raised or have been raised by imperfect parents that have done some things, said some things, didn't realize what they were doing, didn't realize what they were saying, and the implications that it had on us. And some of them do know and just didn't care, right? But the point of it is all of these things that happen in your past can play a part in why your emotional state is hindering you from getting to the next level. And that disconnection is absolutely hindering you from getting to the next level. So, next, why do we need to avoid emotional disconnection? So we need to avoid it. There are three reasons why we need to avoid the emotional disconnection. The first one is because it has negative impacts on our mental health. It increases stress and anxiety, as well as the risk of depression and other mental health issues. They say that stress is a silent killer. It really is, because stress you can't see outwardly. It is something that happens internally, right? And so you might even know some people or a person that is always sick. Stress is playing a part of somebody always being sick, in and out of the hospital, or even with the common cold. That's stress related as well. The anxiety, where they can never allow their mind to just stop. They're always thinking about the next thing. And it's usually, when we talk about anxiety, there's that worry, and there's it usually coming with like a problem, essentially, right? It's never the good. We're not anxious over the good, over the positive. It's always something over here, the negativity, or the thing that we're worried about that's literally taking away our peace. And so this is one of the reasons why we need to avoid the emotional disconnection. Another thing is because it affects all of our relationships. One of the things within this is it brings up difficulties in communication as well as in the intimacy area. And I know that this one might be like, really? But yes, literally every single relationship that we have is all about communication. And some of the conversations that are needed can be very tough to have, because there is the thought of, well, if I've had this conversation, then where is the relationship going to be? Is this person going to leave? How will it turn out? Is it going to be received? Will there be solutions there? And it could also be you could also be thinking, well, in the past when I tried to have said conversation with him or with her, it didn't go so well. It didn't go so well because maybe the person says something to the effect of, "We're here again. We're talking about this again," not realizing that you needing to talk about it again is because it was never resolved. The solution on how to end the other person's feelings, and its negative feelings, is not positive, right? Because we don't hone in and focus on the positivity. We hone in and focus on the negativity. And so if your partner, or if you have ever went to your partner and had this discussion, or has said, "We're here again," hear them as it was never solved before. And if you find yourself saying that, it's because you are with the person that is avoiding their own emotional state. It could be something else that's going on there, but for this particular conversation, we're just going to stick with the emotion. And definitely could be other things as why they are avoiding. But I'm specifically talking about you and how you are showing up, because you're the one that's listening to this. You're the one that's watching me right now. So you want to stay away from it, because if you cannot communicate your feelings, your thoughts, your needs, your desires, then how do you expect to get them? If your spouse struggles with communication, then how does he or she expect to get what they desire as well? They can't. It's really difficult, right? And then, as well as the intimacy. If you're having communication issues, then absolutely the intimacy is going to tank because there is the disconnection that has come about. And you have to be connected in order for the intimacy to feel real, in order for it to feel like, yes, I chose a good partner. We're a good team together. Right. And so the other thing is that it strains personal and professional relationships, which is putting a title to what I was just talking about. It's a strain on the relationship. And then the third reason why we need to avoid emotional disconnection is because it influences our well being overall. Right. We talked about, well, no, we talked about mental health, but this one is specifically talking about the physical health consequences. I know that I just briefly mentioned sickness, but a lot of times, um, this can come in different forms of why we are getting sick, why we are ending up in the hospital time and time again, or just having this really big crisis in our life. And there can be plenty of ailments in our body. It's because we have avoided the emotions. And when we avoid these emotions, we carry these things in our body. I read a book not too long ago called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's really talking about all of the things that happen to you, over the course of your life and how we hold on to pieces of them. And after a while, we're holding on to all of these things in our heart. That armor that I talked about earlier can't help it but to be there. The armor will be there if you don't deal and start to heal the things that have affected you over the years. If you're not talking to somebody that can get you to the next level, that can pull you out of the state of woe is me. My life sucks. Why did this happen to me? Again, staying stuck in the negativity versus accepting what happened to you. It's not to say it was right. When you accept something, it doesn't mean that it was right, that it was done to you. Accepting it means that no matter if it was right or wrong, which in most cases is wrong, but it doesn't matter. The point is, you have to accept that it actually happened to you, that this was a part of your story. No matter how that part of that story got there, is a part of your story. So you have to accept your story. You have to accept what happened to you. You have to accept that this literally was a part of your journey. You had to go through this. And with acceptance comes forgiveness. I know, big, but it's not just forgiving the other person, it's forgiving yourself as well. It's forgiving yourself for the pain that you have caused other people because you have yet to deal with your emotional pain that's been happening to you over the course of these years that you've been holding on to. And so all of this is disconnecting you from your real awareness and how you really need to show up. So the physical health consequences. And then overarching, it reduces the quality of your life. So now, moving on, how emotional disconnection affects self awareness. Well, not to mention all of the stuff that I just mentioned, right? But it also impairs self reflection and understanding. When you keep avoiding things, there's no way that you can truly understand the why. When you keep running away from it, you're not sitting down and reflecting on the lessons that you learn and the things that you can say, okay, this happened when I did this. I don't want to do that anymore. So this I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to figure out a way on how to not get so angry. I'm gonna figure out a way how to show up and be more vulnerable because intellectually I understand that everybody's not the same. But when it's time for me to open up and share that part of me and allow somebody into my space and into the land of my story that is me, I clam up. I don't meet the challenge. And so all of that is crippling you. Every time the connection or the leaning in happens, you run away from it, right? Dr. John Gottman actually calls them bids. Anytime you hear your partner, your spouse, somebody that's you're really close to having a conversation with, or not even having a conversation with, but they actually say something to the effect of, "Wow, I wonder what that was about. Oh, wow, this was really good. This was a really great article." And instead of you saying, "Well, what was the article about?" That's the bid, the leaning in that I was talking about. Instead of you doing that, you ignore them as if you didn't hear them, or you change the subject, or you acknowledge it for a split second, but instead of them um, getting the attention that it needs in order to explain what they wanted to really share with you, you move on to something else. So that bid has been deflated. It wasn't leaned into. You actually turned your back on it. And the more that you turn your back on things instead of leaning into them, disconnecting, 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 disconnecting. And Dr. John Gottman actually found out that this was one of the main reasons why couples stay together long term or not. That leaning in, it's that connection. It really is connecting emotionally, connecting physically, connecting spiritually, connecting sexually. All of the connection points that must be there in order for the connections to happen. So there could also be the impact on your decision making. Might not be a person that makes great decisions because of your self-awareness or the lack thereof, like poor judgment and choices that you're making out there, or difficulty setting and achieving your goals. And then another area is that it influences your behavior. Your emotional disconnectedness influences your behavior. And most of the time, when you are disconnected, you react versus respond. And you want to get in the mindset of responding, giving yourself the time to just, for a split second, it happens really fast, not to say something until you're able to articulate it in a better way so it can be received, and not feeling like just because they're yelling at you that now you have to be reactive and yell back. Responding is different than reacting. Responding is where you take that split second, a couple seconds, a minute to really think about what you want to say before you say it, and block out how they said it to you. It's not that you are not acknowledging what they're saying. You are. You're just doing it in a better manner. Because the truth of the matter is that it takes two people to actually start going back and forth like two rams. But if there's one ram and the other person is like, just gonna go the other way, or allow this ram to have their temper tantrum for a moment, and then you ask an intelligent, thought-provoking question that allows this one to calm the hell down, you have actually uh, the emotions go down. Able to have an actual conversation rises. Them really having to think versus just saying stuff just to be mean, that rises. That level of self-awareness, how they're showing up. Because, and especially if you're in public, it makes this ram over here looks real crazy. When this ram over here is just like watching them like everybody else. This one going crazy. And this one is thinking of what to say or not, just allowing this one to have the temper tantrum. This one looks real crazy. This one looks in control, aware of what's actually happening, how they want to show up. They want to stay connected to their awareness level. So when you don't have self control and you're disconnected from your emotions, so your self awareness is lowered, you exhibit unhealthy coping mechanisms and increased reactivity and impulsiveness, right? You don't want to be reactive, you want to be responsive. Respond to what the person is saying, not reacting. And so, finally, to wrap this conversation up today, we're going to talk about the actions in which you can overcome emotional disconnection. So, one of them is developing emotional awareness, which is what we're talking about here, right? Where you can do this is mindfulness, meditation. This could be coloring meditation. It doesn't have to be meditation in the form of what we hear people say, but it's just a way for you to allow your mind to settle down and deal with the things that come up. Another thing that you can do is like that we talk about is absolutely journaling, of course, right? Allowing the things to come up. And when they come up, don't let them stay there. Journal them out. What are your thoughts about it? Ask questions about it. Go deeper and deeper to get a better understanding of the why that actually came up and what you can do about it so it doesn't come up again. Or if it does, what you're going to do in order to get back on track. So not allow that to derail you in how you're showing up. Another thing is, of course, seeking professional help. Shameless plug, right? Because we're talking about a lot of this in my 3S challenge. I know I've been talking about that for these past, well, this is week 4, right? My 3S challenge is all about raising your level of awareness, loving on you more and more, understanding who you are, as well as all of this stuff coupled together is going to help you to increase your level of self-esteem as well as self-awareness and being able to speak softer to yourself when nobody else is around, including when other people are around. So if you have yet to click the link that's going to put you on the wait list, then absolutely click the link, because I do have another 3S challenge coming up really soon, and you do not want to miss that. And as mentioned before, this is specifically for Black women. So if you're a Black woman that needs some help in those areas, or you just want to get better at understanding who you are, then this is exactly what we are doing there. And it's some fun, but it's definitely some work put in there so you can up level your life. And in this case, up level your level of self-awareness. Another thing is building emotional intelligence, where you're learning to identify and label your emotions. I hope that this touches you where it needs to touch you. So you're able to take the actions that you need to take in order to get to the next level in your life, because it's not enough to have the information. If you only have the information and you do nothing with it, then this literally was for nothing, for naught. When you get some information that really is helping you, then it's time to do the next thing, to seek the help. As I just mentioned, the 3S challenge that's going to help you, right, to start to get to the next level. It is a jump starter. It is not a forever. It is to help you get on the journey of becoming more self-aware of how you're showing up in this world, as well as how to get you to the next level. There are some specific things that you must do in order to get you to the next level, not staying stuck. We're not in the woe as me. That's not what we're doing. We're not woe as me people. We're not showing up in the woe as me. We are doing something about our lives. We are making definite choices to change them. And if you don't know what to do, now it's time to get with somebody to help you do what you need to do. Get all of those things out of your head. You are listening to KCCR Brownstone. This is Love Restored, and I am your beautiful host, Marshaun Olaniyan. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Thank you so much for being here. Share this with a friend or family member that you know needs help with their emotional awareness. I will talk to you guys next week.